Chats. Today we're going to be looking at withholding taxes. So withholding tax applies to a variety of payments when an Australian taxpayer makes these payments to an offshore entity. They usually include things like dividend, interest and royalties. So a 30% withholding tax rate applies to royalties and dividend payments, and a 10% rate applies to interest payments. Now these rates are often actually reduced under a double tax agreement that we may have with the other jurisdiction. So it is worth having a look at what the rate should be before you apply the withholding tax. That withholding tax gets paid to the ATO in relation to that income. And then the net payment is made to the actual entity in receipt of the services. So when we're looking at withholding taxes, there's just a few comments to note. So for dividends, I think probably the most notable thing here is it only applies to unfranked dividends. So franked dividends have effectively already been subject to Australian tax, so no further tax needs to be remitted to the ATO for them. Interest is charged at a rate of 10%. It is still usually 10% under most DTAs, but it is obviously still worth just double checking that. And then finally, we've got royalties. So royalties have been the subject of a fair bit of change over the last few years. The ATO removed its historical ruling, taxation ruling 9312, which looked at computer software. And that was kind of guidance for taxpayers to understand what payments were considered to be royalties in that kind of technology computer space. So the legislation itself hasn't actually changed, but the ATO's guidance has changed. So they removed that taxation ruling and issued a draft ruling in 2021. And they've also re-released another draft ruling quite recently. So that's taxation ruling 2024/D1. Now, notably that's a draft ruling, but it does show taxpayers kind of where the ATO's position lies on these types of payments. And they've really broadened the types of payments that are considered royalties. So it mostly affects inbound distributors of things like software or other intangible type things, SaaS type providers. So if you're in that world, it's really worth having a look at what the ATO's new position is, noting it is draft and noting the legislation itself hasn't actually changed all that much over the last few years. So keep an eye on this space because I think we will see either a finalisation in due course or maybe an updated draft. The other thing that I thought was just worth mentioning with withholding taxes is don't forget to lodge things like your dividend and interest schedules or the annual reports that get lodged with the ATO, because we do see a lot of taxpayers sometimes forget to attend to those. I hope you enjoyed this little summary on withholding taxes. Thanks for all your support so far, and I hope you enjoy the upcoming videos. If you continue to have any questions, keep the DMs coming and stay tuned for more.